Hey everybody, welcome to episode 11 of Two Bitches on a Bench. At time of recording, I don't have a name for this episode as of yet. It will come later. We are going to talk about... What are we talking about? This is bitch number 2 coming up.
The idea that it's okay in professional and personal settings where certain people's behavior is okay, or it's not okay, but it's never a matter of them changing, and it's always people like us who respond, and we are always having to keep in mind, based on what we've been told, that it's our behavior that needs to change because we react in a certain way.
Okay, so we had a brief phone conversation yesterday. Okay, not so brief. And we were talking about behavior, and I think the thing that came up was the fact that you and I are very similar in we are emotional.
Mm-hmm.
We react with feeling and emotions.
When stuff happens, our feelings get hurt.
Yes.
And you and I both are similar, so I would say that's how I was raised, right?
Potentially, yes.
It's just part of me.
Genetics.
And yet, both you and I have been told by outside that it's what we've been told, and it's how we move forward when anything happens of, I'm always needing to tell you and you're always needing to tell me, don't react emotionally.
Right.
Which, how is that fair that our reaction, which is the way that we've always been, that we're having to say don't react emotionally, when that is how our natural emotion is?
Okay, so let me ask you this question, because this never came up yesterday. We had talked about when things happen, we react emotionally. How, and that word is emotional, okay?
Mm-hmm.
As the descriptive. How would you describe then how the other people act? If it's not with emotion, what is it?
They're reactive. I mean, they react with I would say it's still emotion, but they're reactive about it. Where there are people who I would say reactivity. It's hard because I don't know that we're exactly comparing similar things, but what I'm trying to say is that it seems that people who are not like us they're never held accountable, and they never hold themselves accountable on how they react. But when we react with emotion, where we get upset, that's when we're going, don't react emotionally.
Right.
Don't react emotionally. Or if something has happened, so as an example, what we're talking about with me yesterday, I was raked over the coals by somebody who was not a manager, is not my manager, is another administrator, in front of other staff and students for about 20 minutes on something that really was not anyone's fault. I mean, she's the one who dropped the ball on communicating, and then I was the one who got yelled at for it. And my whole thing of this is that after she yelled at me and would not let me get a word in edgewise, and I was trying to explain to her logically, but she wouldn't listen to me, I walked away from the conversation, and I said to her, I can't have this conversation with you anymore, and I walked away from her. I then went into one of the offices, and I just completely bawled. Like, I just could not control it. And now you and I have had the conversation of, in this case, because she and I have had to work close-ish, I am not in a place to forgive or forget.
Right.
I need my time to
Mold, simmer, and let it dissolve.
yeah, kind of. And even that is something else that anyone will tell you, oh, but you've just got to forgive and forget. Well, why? Why is that that when people like us have been hurt and trust has been breached or whatever it is, when we've been put in a vulnerable situation where we don't feel safe and we're embarrassed because of what happened, why is it that we're automatically told, oh, you just need to forgive and forget? What the person who reacted the way they did, what are they told? You know, like
Yeah.
it seems to be some sort of odd an odd hypocrisy thing.
Okay, I have a whole bunch of thoughts going.
So yeah, so as we're talking and I'm thinking about, you know, you said for Monday when this is discussed and this is whatever happens, you said prepare to have a very kind of whatever response about it, which I agree with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I should be able to say, I felt humiliated. I felt stupid. You, being another admin person, we're on the same level. Whether you want to believe that or not, we are. And you come into my place of work in public, in front of other people, and start yelling at me about a mistake that you made. I can't say that.
Why?
Well-
the way. Okay, just a second though, because I'm not looking at you. I'm just listening to you, and the way you said that was to the point, and there was no, in at least to me, there was no bitchy tone, which you and I both tend to get sometimes.
But okay,
So why can't you
fine.
say it just? Why can't you say it just like that?
Well, I guess that's not really what we're talking about in this. I guess what's interesting to me is that you saying, and we've said this both to each other before, take the bitchy thing out. But why?
I guess.
It's emotion for us, and it's not about us being vengeful or us being a bitch out of, you know, choice exactly. It's how we feel.
Well, it's how we feel and it's how we're made up. That's
Right.
part of our personality
And-
and our whole.
And so for me, and this also goes into another. So when this happened yesterday, my manager works out of Edmonton, so we've got kind of a stand-in manager, and she's wonderful. And she said to me, "You need to fill out an incident report." And then a whole bunch of time went past, and she's talking to other people, and then our Edmonton manager finally called. We had this conversation about what had happened, and I asked him, should an incident report be filled out? And he said, initially my gut instinct is yes, but my concern is that it's going to look vengeful. Which I understand I do understand that, but people need to be held accountable. And why is it that it seems to be people like us where we second guess how we react to something? Because nobody else seems to do that.
Okay,
All they need to do is do something horrible to you, treat you horribly, and then they can come back and be like, oh, sorry about that. That's not good enough.
Okay, well, first of all, there's several things here. When you said, the manager said initial instinct is to do an incident report, but another thought of it is that it looks vengeful, and you said you understand where he's coming from on that. Can you explain that to me? Because I don't see that.
Well,
I don't get it.
I guess I can see that, because this happened and I have hurt feelings, that I'm going to go and do an incident report. So I can see that. However, for my own feeling of safety and my own feeling of getting something on the record, that's where I'm going, well, one should be done. And I think the issue is that there isn't a clear rule of when an incident report happens. I think that this would be a case when an incident report should happen.
Absolutely. And okay, the part of that I'm struggling with is that if you filled one out, it's because your feelings were hurt.
And then I wanted to get back at her.
Well, okay, but no, because yes, your feelings were hurt. Yes, you were embarrassed. Yes, you were humiliated, but for other people who need to understand the situation and what happened, like supervisory type people,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I understand the concept of that it would be vengeful because your feelings were hurt. Like, that's the part that I can't get past that, because this is a place of work. This isn't two friends or a brother and sister or a family member where, okay, my feelings are hurt, so I'm going to call you every name in the book, or I'm going to go silent on you, or like something like that. That's vengeful. Absolutely it is. I am, and I can say that because I'm the queen of vengeful. Yes. But I, in a place of work, why? Why is it any different than you're going to go on holidays and you have to fill out a vacation request?
Well,
it's protocol.
Yeah, and I think part of it is that A, there isn't really protocol, and B, because my manager does not work here, I think he might, and he doesn't necessarily have a everyday relationship with this chick's manager. Sorry. I think he might be concerned that it's going to cause that department to be angry because an incident report was done, which I think is stupid.
Okay, may I speak freely?
Yeah.
Too effing bad.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I'm sorry, but,
And I'm wondering too if maybe he might be a little bit worried that they're going to take it out on me. Because he is that type of guy that he is. I think he's very cognizant of that.
Yeah.
And because there has been so much turnover in this position that I'm in, and it's finally getting to a place of stability and organization, that he might be worried that this might cause me to quit.
Okay.
So I feel like maybe that's where I sort of understand there's a little bit of keeping the peace. But for me, I need her to be held accountable.
I agree.
And I want there to be a record. When you're in school and you do something bad, you're written up and it's put into the permanent records, whether or not those actually exist.
The Board of Education record?
That's, permanent record. That's enough to kind of, for me as a kid, that was enough to kind of scare me into behaving. Knowing that there was this magical file where if I did something bad, it was always going to be there.
Right.
Well, I'm kind of going like, well, if somebody, when this chick's review should come around, her boss isn't going to remember what happened. He's going to have a conversation with her on Monday about what happened, and then that'll be that. But I want there to be a protection, because once she's done this once, she's going to do it again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely she will.
And if it's not with me, it's going to be with somebody else. So there's a little bit, maybe there is a little bit of, I don't want to say vengeful, but there's a little bit of like, I need to get my face back on this, because I'm the one who was publicly embarrassed and publicly yelled at by an administrator. So I want a little bit of payback of something. And if that doesn't mean that because I'm sure nothing is going to happen to her with the exception of a conversation, and then it's just going to be forgotten. And I think that's my worry. I know that I always have held myself to the standard of, I'm not going to do this because it's going on my permanent record, or it's something that's going to come up in a review later. So for me, I just don't behave that way because I don't want to have that come up. But if this means that I can just behave however I want and nothing's going to happen, then do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's also really interesting is that my kind of stand-in manager who's here, she said to me that there is like a workplace safety thing that every employee has to sign that says you will maintain a safe and whatever the word would be work environment for everybody. So that includes students and fellow staff members. And she said that that's been completely breached based on what she did. So nothing is put into writing, you know?
Okay, so I think we can't really speak to the procedural part of it.
No.
Because that's out of our control. Well, I say our as if I have anything to do with this, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, there's nothing that we can control in this.
The only thing that, like, if we go back to the original statement of, there doesn't seem to be any sort of remorse or accountability, like you've said.
Yeah, accountability, that's a good word.
To the other person. Like I'm thinking about it, and I know how you felt yesterday. I feel it, and I would have wanted to crawl inside myself, because I would have been so, oh my God.
Yep.
But the other thing that comes to my mind is, even if the other person says, I'm sorry, 9 times out of 10, you know they don't mean it. It's just
it's what they have to do in order for everybody to move forward, but it means nothing.
Well, yeah, and like if the situation were reversed, and for whatever reason, having a bad day, just all around crap, and you lose it on somebody, like if that was me and I did that, because I've done that too a few times.
Yeah.
Once or twice. I feel terrible after. Like I just feel, and it's not because it's you necessarily, it's the fact that I don't behave that way.
Well, that's not being a human. Like,
no.
That's just, regardless of who it is, and I think that there are allowances that can be made because you and I are who we are with each other, and our relationship is the way it is. You know, you take things out on the people closest to you.
Yeah.
Not that it makes it okay, but it's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
So to be in a professional setting where there isn't any of that, it's worse.
Yeah.
So if that were me, and I feel like I can say with 100% certainty that I would never ever do that to somebody, ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be so embarrassed. I would not know how to show my face.
Well, me either.
And I don't know how I would make it better. Like, I would be struggling to figure out how to make it better.
I think if for me, if that happened, I'd probably avoid that person for a really long time.
Yeah.
And then once I got my poop together or my whatever up,
yeah,
and nobody else would be around except for that person, I would go to them and say, you know, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
I am so ashamed of myself and so embarrassed for how I behaved, what I said. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I just want you to know that I am extremely sorry. Like, but again, it goes back to that whole thing of, I would say 99% chance that this person is not going to apologize unless she has to, and it's not going to be she's not going to mean it. It's just going to be words.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to that whole thing where, okay, this is one of those kind of circle things, because you can't, Wolfington's Post is being silly. You can't control how other people behave. You can't expect someone else to react to something the same way you do. But then, I guess it goes back to the thing of the stronger personality wins over. And the stronger personality is the one who initiated the whole thing. And nobody wants to push it or challenge it, maybe. Is that why? And they expect you, in this situation, to be the one to handle it differently. And not to be emotional. Is that, okay, so let me ask you this then. Is that a sign of weakness, to be emotional?
I don't think so. I think that it's just the way it is.
I don't think it's a sign. Why is it
considered strength that you completely lose it on somebody and tear a strip off them and make them feel so horrible? Why is that strength over somebody who just completely crumbles and has an emotional breakdown about it?
I don't know. And that's sort of what I'm throwing out there, because it's I guess it would be, you could relate it kind of to a man in the workplace versus a woman in the workplace, where in the same situation, like whatever the situation happens to be, a man can throw stuff and yell and swear and curse and everything else. That's his way of reacting. A woman cries, but she's weak and she can't do that.
Yeah,
it's the same sort of thing.
Well, and it's told we don't cry, there's no crying in blank industry or blank trade, or there's no crying in the office, and yet they're not told, there's no derogatory remarks, there's no undermining your employees, there's no blank, that's just fine.
Yeah. And I mean, we could probably talk about that for a week straight
and
never,
in circles.
And in circles, and never get a true answer about it. So I guess the thing with this is, let's fast forward again to Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had said to you when I talked to you on the phone yesterday, take the emotion out of it. And when I say that, I mean there can be a bit of a bitchy edge, right?
Well, yes.
And that when I'm saying take the emotion out of it, that's what I mean.
No, I know. I guess it's just kind of, the more I think about it, the more I'm going, well, if me shutting myself off, I'm never going to say the words that you are a horrible wench to me and I'm really embarrassed and I don't want to work with you and blah, blah, blah. I would never say stuff like that. But if my tone is pissed off, why is that a problem? Because I think I have every right to be pissed off.
Oh, I think you do too.
And
completely.
And why should I have to be checking myself and checking my tone and that after how she behaved? When I'm not saying stuff to her and I'm not publicly yelling at her, but she and I are not friends. She and I have, at this moment in time, do not have a professional relationship whatsoever, and I don't want to.
Well,
so why is it that I have, that it's expected that I'm just like, I'm okay. You just continue being the same way. Well, I can't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, so.
And I know why you're telling me to lose the bitchy thing, because I've said that to you before too, and I understand that. But I guess this just got me thinking of, why is it do we say that to each other? It's stupid, and I don't think that we should.
I think maybe we say it to each other because on a personal level, when we have gotten into discussions or tiffs where we don't agree with each other, we have a tone. We have a tone, and it comes across as, well, mine's passive aggressive. And I don't know what yours is. Sometimes passive aggressive, but not to the extent that I am. I don't know what yours is. What is yours?
See, and maybe this is where I get confused because, or I don't have a set answer on this, is because I feel like you are very passive aggressive. You are. And
Ignorant.
for me, I do have my times when I'm passive aggressive. I do.
No. Yes, carry on.
But generally, when you and I are tiffing and I say something, that's what I mean. It's not.
You mean it when you say stuff to me like that you said? I thought it was just
Well,
anger.
like what? Do you have an example?
No.
See, passive aggressive is the, well, if you're not going to change this behavior, then I'm not going to do this for you. Which, does that sound familiar at all?
No.
That is passive aggressive, but I also feel like for the most part, I really do try. I try not to be bitchy, and when I do say something, it's okay. You're making faces, so why are we even having this conversation?
No, I'm listening.
No. Anyway.
Okay, I had a.
And so that's also part of it is it just our perception of each other when we do have conversations? Like, is that our own feeling on a situation coming out? So you and I talking about this that happened yesterday, and you said to me, don't be bitchy on Monday. I'm wondering, is that because that's our emotion coming out and saying that that's how we feel we would react?
It could be.
And even though we're in a professional environment and we don't act bitchy, that's just, do you see what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying, and it could very well be.
Because I don't necessarily see myself as really ever, I don't know that I'm necessarily like quote unquote bitchy when it comes to work. I just don't want to have anything to do with people.
And you show that.
So I don't know that that's bitchy. I just don't see what the issue is there. I mean, well, isn't that real? Isn't that...
Yes. Okay, yes. And that's probably a topic for another podcast of that, but okay. Let's fast forward to Monday. Again. You have your chance to speak. You don't have to say what happened. Now we're at the end of that, and you have your chance to say whatever it is that you need to say. What is it?
That had I been given the proper information, none of this would have happened. Okay, no, first of all, if you'd let me do my job and just let me do it, none of this would have happened. If information had been given to me, none of this would have happened. And this has completely jeopardized my credibility with the people that I work with. With the students, I am humiliated. It was completely unprofessional and has created, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe in my own environment, and that I'm not really sure. I don't know how this gets remedied, to be honest.
Okay, so if I'm the mediator, let's just say, I'm going to ask you to explain, why does this not make you feel safe? Because I want to be able to understand the whole scenario.
I don't feel safe because what happened was not my fault. At all.
Okay.
So, it was not my fault, and this is what happened. And mistakes are going to be made. So, if an actual mistake came along and something to actually be concerned about, how are people going to react? And to do this in an environment where there are the people that I see every day and the students who come to me and already have issues trusting the position that I'm in because there's been so much turnover.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to feel safe? That at any point somebody can come in and just start tearing a strip off me who has absolutely no right to do so. Has absolutely no right because A, the situation didn't warrant it, and B, you're not my manager.
Like, yeah, and I think that's kind of the underlying key factor is that I'm having trouble with words because I can't think of a situation like in my own work, like even trying to pick two people where that could possibly happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like I don't, the thing that comes to my mind is we've talked about this at my work a lot about mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely mistakes happen. We're human.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens, or we make a wrong decision, or we react quickly and do something that, darn it, not the right thing that we should have done.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like anything can't be fixed. It's not like somebody died over it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's part of the thing is one of the reasons that this chick was apparently so upset yesterday, it was an easy fix. It was no big deal at all. And if I had been able to get a word in edgewise and we were able to have a mature adult conversation, I would have been able to explain that.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If on Monday there's a discussion to be had, you have your say, like what you had said just a little while ago, and then she gets her turn to say what she needs to say, and she says something like, oh, well, I was having a bad day, and blah, blah, blah happened just before that, and I was really upset, and I was on edge, and I took it out on you. What's your response to that?
I don't know, because
it's still inexcusable.
That's not good enough. We all have bad days. We all go through shit, some of us more than others, but we don't behave like that. And so this is where I'm struggling because I really don't know. I don't know, and I don't think she's going to take any fault. She's not going to take any responsibility on it at all because even though she knows, she acknowledged to one of the girls that I worked with that she didn't give me enough information.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah. Well, okay. She had information the day before,
mm-hmm.
and the girl that I worked with said, who did you tell that to? And she said, somebody else. And the girl that I worked with said, well, don't you think that I should have had that information? Or she said, did you email it to me? And she said, no. And then she said, well, don't you think that would have been important information for her to have? And she said, yeah.
Oh, boy.
So
based on that.
So, yeah, this is where I am. Like, I don't know what... Yeah. Well, and this is where I'm struggling, where I thought if we podcasted it, maybe something would
come out of it.
But it seems like the more we talk about it, even you're going, like, I don't know. Well, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear what sorry excuse she has. I don't want to hear a hollow, meaningless apology I want to know that she has been reprimanded at some sort, and it is absolutely not going to happen again, and it is most certainly not going to be tolerated. That's what would fix it for me.
Okay, and
it has
hey,
nothing to do with fixing it with her.
You need to, because you didn't say that yesterday when we were talking, and that's perfect. What you just said right there, maybe without the, see, here it
The
goes.
snark?
Yeah, there was a little bit of a snark in there, I think. Just keep it matter of fact, but I think those 3 sentences that you just said are perfect, and you need to have the opportunity to say that.
Well, and I guess how do you also say, is it a fair thing to say, I don't want to hear from her. I don't want to hear what she has to say, because it's meaningless. And if, which I highly doubt, there's any sort of thing that she's feeling, if she's feeling at all guilty, if she's feeling at all like, oh my god, I feel really bad, I don't want her to think that an apology just fixes it, because it doesn't.
No.
And I don't particularly want to hear what she has to say. She didn't let me say what I needed to say yesterday, so why should I have to listen to her again?
No, and I hear you, and I think something that just came to my mind is if I had done that to somebody,
yeah,
before I even left to go home yesterday,
yeah,
I would have sent an email out, not just to you, but to everybody involved, and said, this is completely my fault. I have acted inappropriately. I am very sorry for my actions, and I want to be able to offer an apology to you in front of your co-workers, other staff, students. This is my fault, and I'm taking the blame for this. And it was inappropriate and not the proper behavior for the work environment, and there's no excuse. But I want to publicly say that I'm sorry. I would have to send that before I left. I'd have to, just to even start it, so that people knew that I wasn't just a stone cold biatch.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's kind of where I'm going, where I don't want to hear anything, because they're going to do an investigation on what happened, and they're going to hear to everybody's sides, and blah, 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 and it's baloney.
Yeah.
It's baloney. This is what happened, this is how I'm feeling. There are witnesses who saw what happened.
Yeah.
So why are we needing to have an investigation? It's pointless, it's a waste of time, and it's just a matter of deflecting doing any sort of real punishment.
Yeah.
And then, so I don't know.
The one other thing that we did talk about yesterday was, if there was something that she was made to do to try and not make it better, but at least
a step in the right direction?
Yes. What would that be for you?
I can't answer that. I said yesterday, like what we were just talking about, a public apology, but I don't want to put myself into that position.
Right.
Because being in that position means that I have to relive that.
Yeah.
And it puts me in the position of having to respond.
Well, and the other thing that came to mind about that too is that puts you as the victim.
Well, yeah.
And okay, you kind of are, but she's the frickin' villain, and she should be the one that the focus is on, not you.
Right, and that's, yeah. And so that's why I'm kind of going, like, all I want to know is, I want my manager to tell me that, so her manager let me know that this was her I don't want to say punishment. Punishment sounds so whatever.
Yeah.
But this is what this is what has to happen. Or this is what has happened to her. And that's it. So, yeah.
Well, and I think that you need to have assurance that, like you had said earlier, there's no policy in place for situations like this.
Mhm.
I think this needs to be the start of a policy and procedure in the event of an event such as.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, from my understanding, this has never happened before. So there probably isn't a policy because no one from the people in my area that helped me with this, they're going, we've had crap happen, but they were at a loss of what to do too, because it had never happened before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we close off, then here's one other thought to ponder.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that personality or I don't want to say aura because that's not really what I mean. Do you think sometimes being who we are, the way we behave, our personality,
Mm-hmm.
we bring stuff on like this because we give the impression that we're not going to fight back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, listeners, if anybody has some advice to offer on this type of a situation, it would be great to hear from you. We will follow up with bitch number 2 to see how things transpire and how they go.
Yeah.
In the meantime, again, my advice is say what you need to say.
Yep.
Take the tone out.
Hmm.
Be matter of fact. Say what you need to say. Say how you feel. Just, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think that was it.
Well, I hope the podcast helped a little bit at least. Maybe didn't give you answers that you were actually looking for or
Well,
hoping to get, but
I think it was good to just talk it out and just, yeah. I mean, I got some good stuff. So,
yay. Well, thanks for your time.
well, thank you for your time.
You just have a lovely Monday.
Thank you. I will do my best.
All right then. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.